Sup all, Born in Asphodel Meadow here. Exam week is about to start, so my video making has been slowing down the last little while. I've been catching up on assignments and stuff like that, studying for my exams. So for the next week or two it'll probably pretty much slow down to a dead stop. I did have to make a video though because something very important caught my attention, and it was this book. If you can't read it, it is The Final Warning of the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. And it's terrible. It's absolutely dreadful, honestly. I've read the first three. This is the fourth in the series. I own the first three. I've read them all, and the first and second were very good. Third was all right, and this one is just absolutely a poor excuse for a book. And James Patterson is one of the best-selling authors in the States, I know, possibly the world. It says somewhere there's like 11 million copies of this one series sold, and you'd think, you know, from an author with this kind of reputation in a book with this much repute, right, and respect as a young adult's fiction, you'd think it would be a very, like a book that he had put a lot of effort into visually, but he had, honestly, it's terrible. I'll summarize the entire plot for you. For the first ones, it was all plot twists, and then your friend is your foe and your foe is your friend, and there was constant fights going on, and it was very well written, very action packed. I'll summarize the entire plot for this one, okay? So the main character, for those of you who know the series anyway, I'll try to put it in layman's terms for those who don't. The main character is, and all of her friends are mutant kids who have artificially implanted bird genes in them, who have wings, and they can fly and they go through adventures, and there's constantly people trying to hunt them. Okay? So here's what happens. They have to present to the American government a thing on, what should be done with us now, we should be protected. And the government wants to make them a school. And they were like, nope, fuck that. So they left. And they go to the Arctic, where they meet a scientists' team who are researching global warming. That was pretty much the entire reason this book was written, to help spread awareness in children about global warming. It was completely blown out of proportion, not to say that, it's not a worthy topic, but it just infiltrated every corner of this book. He basically rewrote the third book and added global warming as the main theme. Anyway, I'll go on. So they're called the Arctic, right? Where they find out a lot about what's going on about global warming and how it's ruining the world. And then they're promptly kidnapped, and this evil genius, whatever, with this horrible mutant servant who never gets a backstory. They describe this Frankenstein-esque monster that works for the main guy. Neither of these people have storylines. Neither of these, they're just this is a character with no possible, practicality for being the way they are, and I'm not going to explain how that works, but, that's basically what his thought line was. I'm not going to explain these people, I'm just going to put them here, and then they're going to do what I say they're going to do for obvious motivations, with no subtlety or subtext whatsoever. Anyway, they're kidnapped, they're promptly sold at an auction. When this is the third auction they've been sold at to world leaders and rich people around the world who want 6 mutant bird kids to rule the world with, and each consecutive time they've said, fuck you, we don't want to be your servants, and proceeded to make a mess of things. You'd think after the third auction of these people that they'd maybe try to revise their strategy a little, maybe even just drug them and then send them there, but instead they let them stand and be observed, and they're like, woo, we're fucking bird kids, but we don't want your shit. And then everyone's like, hey, why don't these kids want to serve us? It's completely fucking ridiculous. And they escape, fancy that, and they get out in a hurricane, ironically. There's a hurricane that happens right then, and it's class 5, and apparently the hurricane was caused by global warming. That's what they say in the book. And then, so the main character in the end gives a speech to the American Congress that global warming is terrible and should be stopped. Very heartfelt thing, especially because she's a 14-year-old kid, the main character. 14-year-old kid addressing the entire American, not even kid, 14-year-old bird-human hybrid addressing the entire American Congress and stirring their hearts with her, speech. I read a book a while ago, recently, by Stephen King called The Tommyknockers. It was a long book, kind of hard to get through, but it's not his worst. It's a better book of his, okay? And one of, if not the main character, is completely obsessed with the nuclear threat on the planet, how nuclear power stations are going to eventually implode and destroy most of the world, and how many accidents there have been, like Chernobyl and stuff like that. And he has a very detailed knowledge of it. I don't know if some of the stuff he made up, or some of the stuff he came up with as a character was fake or real. I don't know if Stephen King researched it. But if it's true, it's shocking. And you could understand as a character why he was motivated by that kind of stuff. But it permeated a lot of the book because that's what his primary motivation is he wants to stop the nuclear threat on the planet. But it doesn't infiltrate every corner of the book. And this piece of shit, everything that they do for the entire duration of the book is because global warming is happening. For the first 3 books, apparently they were genetically designed to be the sole survivors should the planet end. Like, they're supposed to save the world. That's what it says in every book, constantly. You are supposed to save the world. And he never says what. And I was expecting it to be some kind of, like, hidden government threat or something good, some plot twist, something I didn't expect. Not something that everyone knows is happening. Not something so completely, ridiculously obvious as global warming. And this, you know, bird mutant hybrid is supposed to have all the solutions. Like, fucking, ugh. I could go on, I really could. But I'm just babbling here. It's a terrible book. James Patterson, I expected better, and I'm not going to buy any more of this series. I'm probably not even going to read them, because you just completely, you know, it's like you built up so much tension deliberately, and then deliberately, like, and, you know, just so you could, like, do any cause you wanted. You could have said child molestation, that's what's ruining the world. You could have said the war in Africa, you could have said oil, you could have said, you know, fucking the Republican Party in the United States. You could have said anything, but it had to be, like, global warming. Another irritating thing about the book is that they're all mutant kids, right? And what I felt was irritating for a while is that they developed these, like, almost X-Men-ish powers, right? Like, one of the kids can read and control minds. One of the kids just magically finds out that she can, like, touch an object and tell whoever the last person to touch that object, whatever that person is doing. And, one of the kids is blind, but he has super sensitive hearing, but I suppose it's kind of natural. And, just general stuff like that. Irritating stuff. And in this book, they all develop, or except for one character, they all develop random new abilities. Like, one of the characters can attract a metal object to their hand like it's magnetic, just whoop, there you go. And then one of the kids can change form. Like, she turns her body into a bird of paradise or something that's human-sized but has all the plumage of a bird of paradise. And one of the kids can fart out noxious gas fumes that actually have a color, like a recognizable green cloud, as if that isn't the most mature thing in the fucking world. And one of the kids, if he stands still enough in a dark area, he can become invisible. And these are all interesting powers. You'd think, wow, they probably get to use all of these powers successfully and to save themselves from a nasty situation. But, like, for every power that's developed, it's useless for them. Like, the kid who, you know, can attract metal, right? At one point, they're locked behind a metal door, and she's like, hey, maybe I can open the lock. Oh, doesn't work. And there was a part where the kid who can change into a bird of paradise and change her form in general gets stuck in a crevice in the Arctic. What does she do? Changes her form to be thinner. Still can't get out. Well, that was a useful fucking power. The kid who farts out noxious gas fumes never gets to use his power. And at no point does the kid who can turn invisible ever use his power to hide from an enemy. He just uses it to irritate people. Like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? And also, just, I'd like to point out, the first 3 books, they were just the orderly in the series. Book 1, which was called The Angel Experiment. Book 2, which was called School's Out Forever, and Book 3, which was called Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports. And this one's called The Final Warning for Global Warming. It's completely ridiculous. And, oh yeah, like I was saying, sorry. And, yeah, those are the first 3 in the series. They were numbered 1, 2, and 3. This one's the 4th, but if you check it out, it says, there's another chapter here. I'll let you guys zoom in on it. You see? Maybe? Yes? No? The Fugitives. 1, The Angel Experiment, 2, blah, blah, blah. And then now they're in the Protectors section. The Final Warning. So, yeah. That assumes that there's going to be another 3 chapters at least. And I'll also like to point out that this book is ridiculously thin compared to the other ones. It's like 200 pages, double-spaced, and a chapter is 2 pages long, and every time he starts a new chapter, it takes out half a page. You do the math. It's short. It's a children's book. And the other ones were about 300 pages. And, or more. And yeah, he's, like, I assume there's going to be at least 3 more in this, the Protectors series. And there's probably going to be another series after that, which is going to have another 3 books. So, we're talking 9 books here, and they're all probably just going to be corporate seller bullshit. And, God, I don't want to keep talking about it. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. James Patterson, you suck. Stephen King did it so much better than you. You've no longer got my respect as an author for young adult fiction. And fuck you. Fuck you. Born in Asphodel Meadow. Get the fuck out of here.